Hey everybody, I'm Jesse, and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks. And today I'm going to talk about what it was like growing up as Generation X, and also probably a little bit about what it's like today being Generation X. But growing up in the 70s and 80s, it was so vastly different than it is growing up, as a kid today. I can just look around and see how things are and see that, these kids, they have their struggles and all that stuff, and they have their problems, and they have it rough in ways that we didn't, but we had it rough in other ways and they have no idea. Now back when I was a kid, me and my brother, we would just, like on a Saturday morning, the average Saturday morning, we get up, watch TV, watch some cartoons, Bugs Bunny and Thundarr the Barbarian. And it was just a special time for us kids. We sat down on the floor in front of the TV, and we'd probably eat a bowl of cornflakes with some powdered milk and, a bunch of sugar on it and shit. I grew up poor and I moved around a lot. So sometimes we'd live, just out in the boondocks. It wasn't like my dad was a farmer or anything like that. But we grew up a lot of a time out in the country. Just weird people living out in the woods, not something noble like a farmer or anything like that. But we did live in town a few times. And so anyway, the average day varied depending on where I lived, right? If it was in town, then we do different stuff than we do when we were out in the woods. So what I'm going to talk about now is when I was probably in the second grade. Me and my brother, we would just get up, eat a bowl of cornflakes, and watch some cartoons with our sisters, and then we would just go out exploring in the woods. We'd catch all the little critters you could find, crawfish. We'd go fishing. Hunt with our BB guns. We'd catch rattlesnakes. Anything that moved, we'd try to catch it or check it out or explore it. And we would literally be miles away from home. And if I was in second grade, my brother was in kindergarten. And we would just be miles away from home. No cell phone in sight. No way to get a hold of anybody. And this was a regular occurrence. This is just how we were. This is how we spent our time. I mean, we did the same thing when we were living in town. We'd get up and we'd just go, We'd leave the house and we'd be gone all day with no means of communication, no way to contact our parents. If one of us did get hurt or something, we had to suck it up and get home. There's no, we had no way to call an ambulance, no way to call, authorities, no way to call anyone. We had to get wherever we were going, no matter what injury we had. So, and luckily, we never got injured badly, not out on our exploring days. We've been injured other times, but not when we were out exploring. Neither one of us really got injured badly, but that was just luck, more than anything else. But though we did know what we were doing. Our father taught us, how to identify poisonous snakes and this kind of stuff, and taught us to be safe with things. So it wasn't like we were just completely ignorant out there, but still, we were children. And I look at that, compare that to today, where these kids, they don't even want to leave the house at all, and absolutely will not without their cell phone. They're addicted to that thing, right? And I try to think about how would that feel as a kid to be tethered to this device all the time. As a kid, because we didn't have them. We didn't have anything like them. They weren't even thought of back then. So to take a kid out exploring like that with no cell phone, that would probably cause them to have a panic attack. You know what I mean? Stuff that we just did, it was just a normal fun day. And the way I feel about it now, I mean, like if I go to work or something, or if I leave the house for a long period of time, I do want to have my cell phone. And if I forget it, I'll come back for it. I'm not going to lie. But that is because I want my wife to be able to contact me in case of an emergency. You know, that's the main reason. If something goes wrong and I need to come home or go to the hospital or something, I want to know right away. But as far as that goes, if that wasn't a factor, I would just leave it. I don't like carrying it around. It's just, you know, where I work, it's always in danger of getting wet and, you know, from sweat or rain or whatever. And it's just a pain in the ass. And I just don't like the thing, honestly. On my rare days off, I'll hardly glance at my cell phone. Once in a blue moon, I'll glance at it. But I hardly even pay attention to it on my days off. Now, I do have a tablet that I look at. In all honesty, I'll, just glance at stuff on there, more out of just something to pay attention to, because I kind of get fidgety, I guess. And I got to keep my mind focused on something. Or I'll get up and do something, I'll get up and start fixing stuff around the house and drive my wife crazy moving around all day. So I try to have something that I can focus on. And I listen to audiobooks now, which probably be a good idea to start stocking up on regular old, paperback books again. Need to go back to that. When I go outside and go, mess around with my plants or whatever, I don't take any devices with me, not on my day off. I just don't. I don't want them. I don't care for them. I'd rather be doing something else. I'd rather be, painting a room or fixing up the house or, picking some figs or something, something physical, but not demanding. Just something puttering around, physically moving around, burning off that nervous energy I have, rather than, just drooling on some device. But that comes, I think, from the way we grew up. We just had freedom from that tether to other people and all this that social media has brought to the world. We were never tethered to that, right? We were never connected in that way all the time. I can't imagine how it would be if all of my friends could message me constantly when I was in school. That would have driven me nuts. I would have left. I don't think I would have carried it around with me even when I was a kid. I wouldn't want that shit. I don't know. I mean, I can't say for sure, but I just, the way I was back as a kid, I wanted to explore and go off in the woods by myself or explore town, by myself. I didn't want to be having conversations online and shit, or there was no online back then, but you know what I'm saying. I didn't want to be having conversations about other stuff when me and my buddies were out there exploring. We were out there to explore. And I think that was a big part of it, that exploration kind of thing. We love to explore. And I don't know if all of y'all have seen my conversation I had with Brad Harris, but he talked about how him and his buddies, they went out several summers in a row to find this cave. And eventually they found it. I forget how long he said it took them, 2 or 3 summers to find this cave. But they explored every summer until they found that cave. And that was just a cool ass story he told me about, his growing up. And it reminded me of my own. Not that me and my brother ever, went out exploring for one single thing like that. We just went out exploring in general. But Brad told that story about how I think he had a machete or something, and they would go out and explore looking for this cave. And that must be a wonderful memory for him to have. But I bet a lot of Gen Xers have memories like that. Just going out and exploring the world, finding stuff out. It just, what a wonderful time to be alive back then. All the freedom in the world. And yeah, I'm sure that some of us got hurt, and some of us probably got hurt badly. But in the end, I think as a whole generation, I think we profited from that, socially and emotionally. We profited from that freedom a lot because people need freedom. I mean, what are we without freedom? I think about that sometimes. What are we without freedom? Just meat androids, going to work and paying taxes and doing it all over again tomorrow. What's the point without freedom to explore and pursue your dreams and your goals? What's the point? And now it seems like all the dreams and goals, they're all online in this virtual space. And it's just kind of weird when I think back of how I thought the world was going to be and how it actually turned out, in 2025. It's just so different than I thought it would be. I honestly and wholeheartedly believed that it was going to be so much cooler, so much more awesome, and not necessarily in a flower child, holding hands, singing Kumbaya kind of way, but even in a dystopian cyberpunk kind of way, some kick-ass shit was going on all the time, but it's not. It's vanillification, watered down bullshit. People are mad about flags and rainbows and shit and all this dumb shit. It's just stupid. It's just stupid and so weak. I just thought it was going to be more hardcore and awesome. I really did. I honestly did. Even if it did turn out to be dystopian, I just thought people would be more hardcore and awesome. I don't know how we got here with just the weakness and the sensitivity and all this bullshit. I thought we'd have like cyber arms and, we'd be like Bionic Man, $6 million man. We'd all be running around like that, kicking ass and taking names. Instead, we're tiptoeing around people's emotions and their well, not us, not Gen X, but everybody online, all the corporations and all this shit, tiptoeing around people's feelings and making sure they don't offend anybody. So yeah, it's just all bullshit. It's just, society anyway, and the way that technology has gone. So instead of like a mechanical cyber arm, you know what I mean? I get Facebook. Yeah. Oh, hoorah. Thank you. Thanks. Whatever, scientists and engineers and all this shit, whatever. That's what you spent all billions of dollars in research and all this shit so we could have Facebook in our pocket. Yeah, that's so hardcore. That's so rad. Yeah, that's just so stupid. But I used to play tabletop role-playing game. It was like D&D, but it was called Cyberpunk, and you could get all this cool cybernetic stuff, right? Like night vision. You could get your eyes adapted for night vision, and you could get a skin weave that made you bulletproof or gave you armor at least, and you could get bionic legs, and you can run and climb and all that stuff. It was really cool. But I kind of pictured the future like that, in that way. That the technology would go in that direction and enhance everybody and stuff, but it didn't. Of course, we're just they just figured out how to brainwash us more efficiently and censor us more efficiently, but did really nothing to improve our lives in any way. Not really, and unless you think that convenience is a real meaningful life improvement, which I don't think it is. Convenience, we've sold out so much in this for the sake of convenience that it just sickens me when I think about it. And then, so I did a lot of exploring throughout my childhood, out in the woods and through the towns and all that stuff that I lived in and the different towns I lived in. And nobody really cared. That was the thing about it. That, people say, the grown-ups or the parents didn't care, but it was all society. Nobody cared. Nobody cared what the kids did. As long as they didn't damage their property, or do anything to take time out of their lives so they would have to focus on the kids or doing it. They didn't care. They didn't care if you were bleeding or if you were gone for 8 hours. They just didn't care. Nobody did. Not the teachers, not the principals, not the police. Nobody gave a shit across the board. And we liked it that way. It was like being invisible almost, we just do whatever we wanted. As long as we didn't go too far outside the line and break the law and stuff, and people just left you the hell alone and left you to your own devices. Or let you go. You run to one of your friend's house or your house and get a bologna sandwich or something for lunch, maybe, and just go back to exploring. Go back to, jumping your bikes over. We had a mill there, and we had these big mountains of, not mountains, but mounds of bark chips. And we would ride our bike over those mounds of bark chips and jump off of them and stuff. Yeah. On the weekends when the mill was closed down. Yeah, we'd do that shit. And man, I had some pretty good bike wrecks on those things, but yeah, it was a hell of a lot of fun. And then getting up into my teenage years, then you want to party. And we would party. We would party our ass off. We would go meet out in the woods. There was a quarry out there, and all of us would park in the quarry and, park around in a circle with all of our trunks facing the inside of the circle so that, all of our alcohol was in the back of the trunk, and we just all open our trunks and drink. Yeah. Yeah, we do that kind of shit. Just raising all kinds of hell. Borderline illegal stuff, when I was a teenager. That's when we started doing some going pushing the envelope a little harder, closer to the edge when I was a teenager. But it was a lot of fun, and no real harm was done, not really. Not in my experience with any of my friends or anything. But yeah, we partied hard, and still no cell phones. We'd be out there, out in the woods, driving way out in the woods without a phone, in a shit bucket car that barely ran, probably needed a battery and 4 ball tires on it. We'd be driving miles out in the woods. If we broke down, we would be screwed. But we'd drive out there and party and then drive all the way back. Yeah, but I think that's the thing that separates us from especially the younger generations. I'm not so much sure about the boomers in this category, but just the lack of fear. The lack of fear of doing things without technology, of going out on a ledge and just, seeing what happens. Let's just see what happens. Hey, if we don't make it, we don't make it. If we fail, we fail. We're not afraid of failure. We're not afraid of sticky situations. We'll get ourselves out, and we know it because we've done it 1,000 times before. You know what I mean? We've been in some ridiculous situations, some of us, and we survived it. And here we are today to tell the tale. So, we'll take some chances. Where kids today, the younger generations today, they don't want to take any chances. Not in the real world. They take a lot of chances online and shit, but they won't take any chances in the real world. They won't risk themselves. And I don't know if that's good or bad. Maybe they'll live longer because of it. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so. Just because they seem like they're wound up so tight. I think that stress is not a good thing for longevity. But yeah. And that's another reason why Gen X doesn't care, because we know it's going to turn out all right, or it won't. And either way, it's going to turn out, right? It's going to turn out. It's either going to turn out good or bad, but it's going to turn out. And shit, we're okay with it. We're okay. We'll be okay. And I'll leave you there with that. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and comment. If you'd like to support the channel by becoming a member, I'll leave that link down in the description. Or you can head over to the channel page and become a member that way. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can do so by clicking on that super thanks button down there. Or you can head over to Buy Me a Coffee and buy me a cup of coffee. I sincerely appreciate those of you who do that. Thank you very much. If you're interested in Gen X gear, we got some pretty cool stuff over there at Redbubble. Gen X Thinks and Gen X branded stuff, t-shirts, coffee mugs, stickers, all kinds of cool stuff like that. But I'll leave that link down in the description for any of you who are interested. If you can't or don't want to support the channel in any of those ways, you can always do so by sharing these videos on your social media. That helps out one hell of a lot, so I want to sincerely thank those of y'all who do that. And if you have any ideas for future episodes of Gen X Things, please put those down in the comments. Or you can email us, and the email is genxthinks@gmail.com. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.